Welcome to the Tesla Economist. Please hit the thumbs up and remember to subscribe. You can also follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon. We were given a bit of information about Tesla's Powerwall business from the Q2 earnings call. Really, this earnings call was a treasure chest of information and accompanied with outstanding financials. I'm still at a loss why the stock hasn't exploded. I don't understand why people don't want free money. Anyway, that's the market for you. A total nut job. So what information did we get about Powerwall? We were told that the batteries are basically prioritized for the auto business, and then what is left over is then used in the energy storage side of the business for Powerwall and Megapacks. In other words, there's little control in growing this side of the business. Tesla are dead set on getting as many vehicles out as possible, and likely the batteries carry more profit in the auto business than the energy, particularly as the energy business makes a loss. It's also a sacrilege using 2170 batteries in energy storage. LFP batteries are just vastly superior in every way for energy storage, but Tesla do need to keep their feet in the energy business too. Tesla can't simply grow the energy business without sacrificing the car business. They're both limited by battery supply. But cars take priority. Tesla also need to establish as large a market share for cars as they can, as branding is significantly more important in that side of the business. So there are plenty of reasons to neglect the energy business over cars, but to rectify this, we know Tesla are putting as much effort as they can into building up their battery supplies. We have some idea of how fast Tesla can ramp up their 4680 batteries, but even then, it should be at a fairly consistent pace with how fast they can ramp up their cars, especially with these new factories. So there may not be enough batteries to come close to Tesla's demand anytime soon. However, Powerwalls are significantly more profitable per kilowatt hour when compared to Megapacks. They have a good margin, but they are using 2170 batteries still. We know this due to the weight, at around 200 pounds or so a battery pack. At this weight, it is possible to install them on a wall. If they were using LFP batteries, then it would weigh about twice that, and thus be too heavy on a wall. But is that really that big a deal? No, not really, compared to the extra cost of using nickel batteries. The good news, we were told, is Powerwall is a very popular product, with an insane backlog, but a huge mismatch in production versus demand. The Powerwalls also use the same semiconductors as the cars. Obviously there is a significantly larger profit per car sold compared to Powerwall, so Tesla have to sacrifice Powerwalls for more car sales. But once this is sorted, we're told that Tesla can massively ramp up the Powerwall production. Elon goes on to say that he thinks they have a chance of hitting an annualized run rate of 1 million units of Powerwall next year. And he says that he thinks that there probably is demand for about 1 million Powerwalls too. Now, each Powerwall is about $8,000. Therefore, 1 million a year would be $8 billion a year revenue. Tesla are at about $12 billion for Q2, annualized to nearly $50 billion. Therefore, Powerwalls would increase revenue to $8 billion. If they could deliver that many. That's an increase of nearly 20% in revenue, from another product that is constrained by demand. People think too much about what different models of cars Tesla are going to launch, and forget they do all these other amazing products, with more on the horizon, that are actually fairly big sellers. I think the Tesla HVAC is going to be massive too. There are about 12 kilowatt hours in a Powerwall, so even using nickel batteries, you wouldn't expect the cost to be much more than $3,000 max. Yet Tesla charge $8,000, so perhaps they do have a big margin, but they just increase the price so much due to demand being so high, and the fact they can use semiconductors to sell the cars with $10,000 to $15,000 margin, it's too large an opportunity cost. Although Powerwall has lots of great benefits, one of its main advantages is to save users money, and in effect, it may eventually pay itself off, even at that price. And then even once the semiconductor issues are sorted, then Tesla still has the potential battery constraint issue. But once 4680s are ramped up to support Berlin and Austin, and LG and Panasonic are supplying enough 2170s for Shanghai and Berlin, then maybe there are enough LFP batteries that Tesla can use those in their Powerwalls. CATL are on a major LFP ramp. Tesla will be using their batteries in their standard range cars, but depending on how many standard range models come out of Berlin and Austin, well, there might finally be a large surplus. This is the pivotal point we're waiting for when it comes to the energy business, the stage when Tesla are no longer constrained by batteries, so they can finally start growing their energy business. If they're also not constrained by chips, then Tesla can sell Powerwalls. If they are, then these batteries can go into the Megapacks. On the earnings call, Elon also said that there's a good chance that all stationary storage that is Powerwall and Megapack will move to iron. This was huge. Wow, I say this is huge a lot. I hope it's not starting to lose its meaning. I just think a lot of the things this company do are a big deal. It means that Tesla can transition to LFP for battery storage. There are already Chinese companies offering battery LFP storage and a lot cheaper than Powerwalls. Of course, they're nowhere near as clever and won't have the future Tesla features we're expecting like AutoBidder. But what does this actually mean? It means that if CATL have enough LFP batteries for Tesla in excess of what Tesla need for their cars, then these batteries can go into energy. And if there are enough semiconductors, then Tesla will likely prioritize Powerwalls over Megapacks due to the higher profit margins. Of course, after 2022, then the LFP patent for China expires, and Tesla have already mentioned they'll make their own LFP battery, which I deem as their most important product. We have demand for 1 million power packs, but you can actually only buy them with solar power, at least currently. Perhaps demand is so high, if you really want a power pack that bad, then you also have to spend 3 times as much as the pack costs and have solar too. But maybe within time, they will sell them separately. I mean, even without solar, any house could simply charge their battery at the night rate and use the battery to power the house in the daytime. Like I said, it has a cost-saving value too, which will offer a certain return on investment for consumers. But what if we have LFP batteries? Then I would feel that Tesla could get the price of these down to around $2,000 per 10 kilowatt hours, plus installation. But alright, even if they were twice that price, then comes a pivotal point, where it's an exceptional return on investment. Every house would be financially better off with one. If it reduces your power bills by just a quarter, and you pay $2,000 a year on power now, then that's a $500 a year saving. If it was $4,000 for the power pack, then it pays itself off in 8 years. That's an annual ROI of 12.5%. Not too bad. Sure, not Tesla's stock price kind of returns, but better than the interest you get in the bank. Of course, some countries see much larger discrepancies between their off-peak and peak power rates. The savings are sometimes more than half, and some people have much more expensive power bills. But a saving of around $500 to $1,000 a year is probably not far off what you might expect from a 10 kilowatt hour battery. But there really isn't much reason that Tesla couldn't afford to eventually sell these at $2,000 and still have huge margins. And then Tesla could also take a cut from all the auto bidder arbitrage these allow too. Or perhaps there may be a 5 kilowatt hour battery at $2,000, as, believe it or not, most of the world doesn't consume close to as much power as we do. This is a product that every household in the world can benefit from. The demand is unlimited. Therefore, this product could go from demand from 1 million units a year to something like 10 or 20 million, maybe even 50 million. At $4,000 each, then we should be looking somewhere around $100 billion a year revenue, and possibly 50% margin to go with it, especially when Tesla are using their own LFP batteries and producing them at around $25 to $30 a kilowatt hour at the pack level. And that doesn't factor in Tesla's residential solar business either. We hear it all the time. Energy will be as big as autos. But if you think autos have barely begun, then energy is significantly further behind again. It's just about getting excess batteries to cover autos and have some remaining for energy. And like I said, CATL could be a big part of that, as they plan on ramping up to over 1 terawatt by 2025. That alone would be enough to make about 20 million cars, so there should be some spare. However, as Tesla are prioritizing vehicles so much, there is another little issue around the corner, the Model 2. This will also be using LFP batteries and competing for supply, which will inevitably affect energy again, due to the level we're expecting this car to scale. But Tesla know this. They've managed to reduce their battery factory footprint by about 1/10 due to the dry electrode process. So we hope they are just going to be able to build lots and lots of massive battery factories, and hopefully they can scale up to extreme levels without too many issues, especially for their LFP batteries. Tesla's batteries are a money printing machine. Imagine if you made a money printing machine. Wouldn't you put every effort you could into making more of them? Sure you would. Well, don't worry, Tesla will too. Energy will be big, but it's not going to be a priority for still some time. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.